Hi, Bridget.
Hi.
So I'm so impressed with the work you do with Bee Hive. What is the Bee Hive and how did it come to be?
The Bee Hive's a group of women and teens that we have one here in Las Vegas and one in Hawaii. And we're just women in the community doing good things for other women and other communities, inspiring. And we just rock it out. We buzz together and we flock together and we help each other and we help schools and neighborhoods and other organizations.
How did it come together? Because what do you guys do? You guys take care of people. You fill in gaps of what?
Okay, so this all started out when I moved here in 2003 from Hawaii. I felt a lack of community. I felt a lack of Aloha Spirit. And I was really, really homesick. So I was telling my husband, I don't want to be here. Nobody's nice to us here. To me personally, I felt like it was just like a foreign place for me. So he said, you need to build your own community. And I didn't kind of understand that. And he said, you're saying you're lacking your neighbors, you're lacking friends, you're lacking, just the hospitality of Hawaii. And I said, yeah, I don't see any of that here. So he said, let's do it. Let's start that on our own. So we started, feeding the homeless during Thanksgiving. Eddie actually would get a gift card from the department to the officers. And I told him, let's use that gift card. And he also was like, let's use it to get stuff to make sandwiches. So we started doing that with the kids every Thanksgiving. And we would post it on social media in hopes that we would inspire other people to also do that. So we did. We ended up inspiring my aunts to do that. So we started doing that as a family. And then more people were asking questions. So I would bring teens along with us and it grew from there. That and just the shop with a cop, he would offer himself to do that. And on Christmas time, he would mention to me like, hey, I came across a family who didn't have XYZ. What do you think? I said, let's give them what we have, or let's sharing the Aloha Spirit. So as it grew, friends wanted to join in. And I came up with the idea of, let's make a beehive. And the whole thing about the bees, how they work together, and that's exactly what it is now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's neat too. So what are some of the surprises that have come up with, like when you help someone who may not understand Hawaiian culture or the Aloha Spirit, how do you get to teach them about it?
I think the word love is universal. When they experience the love and the Aloha Spirit, it's just a feeling. We don't make it weird. We don't make it like a charity case. Even in our back to school drives, we know this parent is probably embarrassed to get these school supplies, or this parent is probably embarrassed to get a coat from us. So we try not to make it, it's a humbling experience for us, for one, and we try not to make it an embarrassment for them. So it's more like, hey, how you doing? Like a family ohana type of deal. That transaction is not like, hey, this is a jacket. We know you need some help. Here's some brochures. It's nothing like that at all. It's very open, very family, very ohana. I feel like it is. And I think they catch on to that. People are catching on to that.
I think that's so powerful too, especially the judgment. Stigma is a huge barrier and a lot of things, especially in our state, we have really inadequate mental health and healthcare stuff. And one detail of that is a lot of times if people are struggling, it may, treating an addiction or mental health stuff, that's only part of the struggle. You still need housing and a job and stuff like that. So, in the community health work I've done, a lot of families struggle needlessly, in a sense, if they were able to talk about that. So how do you spread the word of the Bee Hive's no judgment Aloha Spirit?
It's funny. I think when we already buzz through a community and have a mission that we serve, word gets out and it becomes so comfortable and we make it so non-judgmental that when they do need something, they know they can call us. I think for it, like a good example, we were servicing our back to school was a certain elementary school this last week Friday. That school, we didn't know too much families in that school. It's in the middle of the east side. It's a smaller school. We are assuming, okay, majority, is Hispanic or XYZ. We're gonna have a language barrier. So we make sure that we make them feel comfortable, and we have somebody who speaks Spanish who's like, come in and ven aquí, and they feel so comfortable to be like, also, can I have a backpack for my high school child? So, and then we have other kids who are calling us, teenagers, that live in the projects, who remembered us from last time, calling us for backpacks. And we do make that drive up the mountain to the projects to bring the backpack to that child. And, so it's so like aloha feeling. And we always, every time I speak with somebody via texting, I say, P.S. aloha or aloha. It's always starting with, and as well as in my preschool program. I try to incorporate my culture in that. And I feel like because of where we are, this big city, and what we're known for, a city of sin, we don't really have that community type of, you don't know your neighbor. So go across the street and introduce yourself to your neighbor.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because Las Vegas, having lived here for the last 33 years, I came here as a young 10-year-old, and actually it was Boulder City that I started. But having been in this community for decades, it's a melting pot of people from all over the place. And so it comes down to like city planning. It really, we don't have a lot of opportunity for spontaneous connection, and we have a lot of space. But what you're working on that I think is so impressive is something that is a need, but it's not necessarily something that we could provide, because there's the thing that resonates with me when you're talking is cultural competence.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people don't see themselves in the help that might be available, so they won't even get near it.
Yes, and because we're so diverse, the Bee Hive is so diverse. We have Hispanics, we have Asians, we have African Americans, we have every color here, and I feel like when they look at us, they're like, they're like us. And when they see that we have our children, okay, we're comfortable. So I think that plays a big part in it too. Cultural. It's a cultural thing too as well. I mean, this principal that we serviced her school, what stood out, okay, she is American. Her religion is LDS. She told me, I go on my scooter and I ride around the neighborhood. She lives in the neighborhood she teaches at. And I go to the garage sales. And I said, why do you do that? And she's like, I want them to know I'm just like them. I want to know my students. I want to know the families. So if I have to buy a book, even if I don't need a book, I will go into that community and ride my scooter and purchase a book just because I want to see my community. Wow. We need more of that.
There's been a lot of comments, I think, in public policy about that. Like North Las Vegas talks a lot about they don't necessarily have a requirement that their public employees live in North Las Vegas. And that's something that came up in their mayoral debate. Some governments have that. You have to live in the county, you have to live in the city, but it's because it just doesn't look right.
Yes.
I don't want to live where I'm policing or whatever. Yes. So, but one thing I think you do that I want, or I certainly do in my campaign as a nonpartisan candidate, is it's really attraction rather than promotion. And I think that you have effectively done that. You've presented the Bee Hive on social media. You've won an award for your podcasting. How has that been able to attract the right people who need the right help, but also match it up with the service or that support, the Aloha?
It's so funny because, especially when women want to join the Bee Hive, nobody knows the behind the scenes. I have to think of the person. Does she fit the criteria? Does she have that Aloha Spirit? And can she be open to learning the Aloha Spirit, right? So sometimes I feel like I'm forcing it on somebody, and then eventually I will see if the person can fit with us in that. And I feel like sometimes the women that join don't fit in and don't have the Aloha Spirit. So it's so hard to get to sting people as a buzz, to sting them with that Aloha Spirit. I think that with you running, I think you get it. And I think if you get it and you can get others to get it, and we can live by example of this Aloha Spirit, we'll be cool. Yeah. It'll be cool. Everybody will catch on. And I think, what you do, especially in the community, always talking about the community. I think it's very important because you need to be in that community, and not just for, a lot of politicians have approached us and wanted to work with us, and they want to participate to take the picture, and then they're out.
Yeah.
I've had a lot. And I had to learn to be like, you know what, we're actually just going to do this by ourselves, because in the back of my head, I know what this is about, the politics behind it. And a lot of politics has been presented to us in missions that we run. And I had to make that conscious awareness, like, do I really need that commissioner here with me? Do I need the commissioner here with me to take a picture? And they didn't help me do anything. So I have to also look at the politics about it too, the politician side of it, why they want to be out in the community. Is it for the good? Are they really doing it for the good? Or are they doing this for the photo op? So a lot comes into play with this group. I think it's just a lot of thoughts, a lot of thinking, a lot of behind the scene stuff that nobody knows that I have to deal with as well. Even with the women, like getting them on board with the same plan. Same buzzing the same way, you know?
Well, so, I mean, that's interesting. So you have sort of leadership in this. Do you have others that kind of lead with you or?
I do. I have my go-tos for certain things. So what happens each month is a woman, each month, one woman has to choose a mission. And we send them a mission form via email, and they fill it out, and we talk about it, and she chooses whatever mission she wants, whatever is close to her heart. So then she becomes the leader of the mission, and she becomes in charge of getting us all together to all buzz the same way. And some of these women have never been in a leadership position, so it's a struggle, but they get it. And at the end of the day, it all flows. So they're also learning to become leaders. And I hope at the end of this, like whatever their time is with the Bee Hive, if they stick out all the way to 20, 25 years, we have a leader, we have a new leader, and then their children, and it goes from there. So that's what I'm hoping.
I think that's so brilliant because, it's attraction rather than promotion. And then what I get a sense of, and what I know about the work you do, is it's very empowering. And there may be structure and some details there, but it's empowering, and that's what I've always felt is the proper role of government. That it should be not in the news every day. Government should be running in the background, and when stuff happens, it kicks in and takes care of people. Is there anything that you've seen, like sort of trends through the community that you're working with, that you kind of wish the government would help with, like the county or the state? I mean, in one view with the politicians you're talking about, taking them on their face, they don't know what's going on unless someone tells them. And if they may genuinely want to help, but sometimes there's nothing the government can do. But what do you think? Is there a big
I think they
gaping
need
hole?
to be personal with the community. I think they need to get in there, not just for the photo op. I think they actually need to be more involved with the community they're serving. Talk to the residents of the community. I think that they need to be finding loopholes to help. That's what I think. There's a lot of rules, red tape, even with us, because we are not a nonprofit. We're an LLC. So a lot of people say, we can't help you guys because you're an LLC and we can't have it as a tax write-off and we can't do this. So a lot of it does come from just people donating our own pockets. I feel like if the government or the politicians or XYZ were more open and giving to change, it will be a better world.
What I see is a lack of leadership, and I see a lot of panic, and there's just one note coming from both sides, and that's why I like being in the nonpartisan seat, because it's like I am a traction rather than promotion. Where I feel there's some alignment is this is how I personally feel. Just observing, living in Nevada for 33 years, observing, I have shifted from a Democrat view 25 years ago into I just don't. And working in the legislature for the last 3 sessions full time, we've had allies on both sides on stuff we've been working on. And it's been breaking down stigma and increasing harm reduction strategies for overdoses at the state level. And just every session we have to get new people who will kind of do some stuff. And what I feel is that there needs to be strong leadership.
Leadership. It all from it comes up here, right? If you're a crappy leader, you're gonna have a crappy team. Let's face it. Like that's what's gonna happen. And your leadership skills have to be on point. Like I feel like and for me personally, I feel like your leader should come from the background of where you came from, a single mom. Those are the type of leaders that know what's actually happening in the community because you've lived it. And, having a single mom raise you, these things that other people don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, one thing that I'm very aware of, and it's been interesting to learn how to talk about it. I don't look like the troubles I've had. I don't look like the experience I've had. So round 1, pick your poison. I'm in recovery from gambling addiction. And in the process of the gambling addiction, I committed some crimes and then I got convicted. So the cost of the conviction was I lost my ability to vote for 10 years. And it's like, get better, but you have a felony on your record. Good luck getting housing, good luck getting a job. But thankfully, I was in a stage of my life.
By the way, that sucks too.
It sucks.
Because I know some good people who made bad choices, and it sucks that they have to live like that even now. Well,
I have to say, it does suck. And it's, a comment that was made to me was, oh, what a waste of a beautiful mind. And it was like, then I should just go jump off the cliff. It's like, is that really what I'm looking forward to? A life of whatever. And so part of that is, in presenting the nonpartisan option, a legitimate, viable nonpartisan option for Nevada voters. If this is an issue, I'm also presenting those stigma challenges that I'm a person in recovery with this record. But it was the natural course of criminal justice reform that restored my right to vote in 2017. Absent that, I would have to do it through a piecemeal legal process. So that was neat, because that was responsive to what you're talking about, is this branding does not help people. When we're talking about licensing, and that's something that a lot of states are looking at, is there's 13,000 laws in the states that bar people from licensure with a criminal record, period. 25% of all work requires a license. So, there's been some thinking around that how come, because someone has this thing in their background, and most people who have criminal records, 1 in 3 black men or whatever, they're not criminals, So that's something that is another piece to talk about, which is, with my addiction, and if it all came to light today, I would have a much different experience. I would get diversion, I would, other stuff. So I hope that resonates with people, that, it's a different story when I'm a pretty face coming out, I'm gonna run for office and we're gonna change the world. But what I run into, and I kind of want to ask you about, is there's a lot of candidate questionnaires. What are you gonna do about this? For the lieutenant governor, the only official rule, no one's asking about what you do as you preside over the Senate, which is the only thing I think is interesting. Not the only thing, it is the most interesting of the details. But chairing the Commission on Tourism, working in economic development. They want to know what your plan is. And my plan is to get information and see what we should do.
Yeah, that's what the whole goal is, right? Yeah.
I appreciate that response because because I'm basically saying I don't know, but let's get the people together and let's sort it out instead of. And I think that's something I'm working against the grain where you're either Democrat or Republican, pro-life, pro-choice. It's very binary.
Yeah.
You're either this or that, and I'm none of that. What is in the best interest for the people of Nevada? That's the focus.
Yeah.
And those are tough conversations because you can't dribble out resources when you go that way. You kind of want to, we're going to get this done, we're going to do that done. It's the middle is where I think most people are, and that's where
and usually when they're like, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then nothing happens.
Right, because good luck, stop something. And then it paralyzes government, and I think the people are through with that. Because some people will be like, he has no plan. It's like my plan is to learn more, But I think that's genuine leadership. And I think that's what you are doing with the Bee Hive. And what is so powerful about it is it's an organic response to several things. It's a response to people who need assistance and stigma. There's barriers that have nothing to do with their issue. And then it's through that process of helping, you're teaching and demonstrating leadership with a cultural bend to the Aloha Spirit.
Yes.
And that's neat because you are helping people and honoring your culture.
I'm working against the grain, and I'm glad to do it.
So, I mean, if this got bigger, like, if you got a private grant, would you quit your job, run it full time, be executive director, hire a bunch of staff?
I quit my job because I feel like I've been teaching there for 17 years. I've been a teacher for 17 plus years. That classroom specifically 17 years. And I have my oldest student is going to graduate this year. And he still comes back and he knocks on my door and he's big old kid. And he says, "Can I read?" I've made a difference. And if I'm not going to make a difference in I know I'm making a difference somewhere, sometime. Every day that I go into that classroom, I'm making a difference. But what I'm struggling with is teachers not getting paid enough. Me spending 35% of my paycheck, every paycheck, into my classroom. So it's just like, it's so much. It's just so much. So I'm hoping you can change that. I'm hoping, but I don't think if the Bee Hive even if we got, I would always work. I will always stay in my community, live in my community. A funny story is when somebody was trying to register for a back to school event, she asked me, "What papers do I need to bring you? Do I need to show you that I get assistance to qualify to get a backpack?" And I said, "No, girl." I said, "Just come on, just come." And her face was like, "Wait, I don't need to show you all my paperwork." So there's a line right there. There's the boundary that's broke. Girl, just come. You need help? I'm not going to ask you anything. I'm not going to ask for your welfare papers, your food stamp card, show me that you're on WIC. Just come and get what you need to get. It's all good. And I think that's what we need to learn is that you and I are the same. I've been you, you've been me. It doesn't matter. Like what color we are as well. It does not matter. Where we live, it does not matter. It's leadership. It is empathy. It is differences, and if we can make that change, then we're good.
Well, there's humble leadership there. It's girl, you just got to do it this, this. Oh, you didn't do that. And this is something that working in harm reduction, drug prevention, they call it primary prevention, and the objective is to prevent the first use. But what happens if that fails? Oh, we're not paying for that. We want people to just not use the first time. But people are people. What do you do when that doesn't happen? My mom was a teacher, and she taught special ed, and there was a struggle as a single mom with a teacher salary. There were just choices we had to make, and teacher pay hasn't kept up with the value of the profession. I think that is an issue. And I think there's been a lot of awareness since the pandemic of internet accessibility, and there's been a ton of money that's come into from the federal government for all of these issues. So hopefully there's improvement there. Since schools are basically little community centers, now they're food, free lunch, for everybody, no questions asked. That's important. But then just laying eyes on young people, you can tell how the community's doing. And that's the philosophy behind the harbor. When kids are referred into juvenile care, their view is kids don't steal food because they want to. There's something else going on. So it's very holistic, and you used that word earlier. And I think also with your structure, without being in the system or 501c3, you do have that flexibility.
Yes.
And that is better than the cost of if you had to take all this grant money. And that's something that I also want to work on. I've worked with a lot of nonprofits, and there is so much money that isn't taken by organizations because the bureaucracy is too much. And the benefit is gone. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me. You're doing amazing work. Congratulations on the success of your podcast. Any thoughts, parting thoughts? Did we miss anything? Want to talk about? Good luck. Thank you.
And I'm your supporter, and we're going to make it rock.
Oh, you went this whole time without a sticker.